I'm just a big, hairy American winning machine. If you ain't first, you're last.
WTL.
And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. You know what that stands for. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Kless, and joined by
Jabron.
Oh, the Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back.
You got that dog in you.
I got that underdog in me.
Because we are going to be talking underdog pick'ems. We got NFL packs. I assume you got a little bit of a parlay working there.
Yeah.
We're going to try and go 1,000 times our money here. We're getting in on some early lines for the Super Bowl. Do you know the Super Bowl is coming up here?
I did know the Super Bowl's coming up, and it's going to be epic.
Super Bowl 59.
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs are taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in New Orleans. And I found this stat. I think it's pretty cool. Perfect balance.
Yeah.
Perfect balance here. This is how sharp these books have been and have been for a long time. 28 overs have cashed in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
28 unders have cashed in the Super Bowl with one push. The only asterisk is Super Bowl one didn't have a total put out. They didn't have an over-under on Super Bowl one.
What the heck is up with them?
But everyone since then, perfect balance. Are we going to have another push? Are we going to have? It feels like it's got to go somewhere.
It feels to me like the over is going to hit. So
Oh, boy.
I am on team over.
Okay. Well, hey, what are we at? 49.5?
Yeah. Big
Okay.
time.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way. Just that's my initial thought. But we got to get into some underdog picks.
Yeah,
I know you
props.
got some props across the board here. I kind of got into the app earlier today, picked out some that I really liked, looked at what other people were doing. Let's see where you want to start.
Well, I just think I'll start with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's fresh in my mind. I got about 3 or 4 players here that I think the lines are really good on them right now. So if you want to get some parlays in, you want to get some plays in early, I think all of these are bound to rise next week just as the excitement of the Super Bowl goes up and goes up and goes up. The main one that I want to talk about is Travis Kelce. He's on fire. He's going to be on fire. This is the Super Bowl. This is the biggest game of the year. Biggest player in the sport besides probably Patrick Mahomes is Travis Kelce. They have his total receiving yards all the way down at 64.5. This guy is going to probably be close to 10 catches this game, probably going to get in the end zone. I believe 65 yards is a layup for Travis Kelce. I believe they're going to go to him early and often. I believe this is one of the best plays on the board right now in Underdog.
And I think Taylor Swift's going to be there. I did see a pretty cool CGI picture where she was the quarterback. So she was like replacing Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, she has in his heart.
Oh, man. And it does seem like I don't want to call it sandbag throughout the entire season, but
they're just keeping him healthy.
Right.
He's old.
That's kind of how I
He's
felt.
old.
And throughout the playoffs, especially in the second half, crunch time, Patrick Mahomes knows where he's at.
Exactly.
He looks him up. So I do feel like that's a good one, and I do believe you're onto something thinking that that's going to rise.
Yeah,
those
I
numbers
bet
going
it's
to go
up to 70, 72 by the time, Super Bowl week is getting, past and everything, especially with his name drop so much. I believe that's going to rise.
Where does that click over for you where it's like, nope, that's too high, I'm going to bet low now? You could even do a hedge later in the week.
Yeah, probably
next
if
week.
it got up to 75 yards.
Yeah.
But even with Travis Kelce, that is even,
it's
very
attainable.
attainable.
Sure.
So I don't know if I would ever go lower on Travis. I would probably just say I'm not, betting that if it gets up to 75. I just believe anything under 70 yards, Travis is probably going to get with ease.
Okay, well, how about this one? DeAndre Hopkins, he burned me a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was riding high after he had one good game, one good game out of 5. Like, I can't believe you didn't replicate that.
Yeah.
15.5 yards is all they're asking for, and I'm thinking under.
You're thinking under.
He's a 4th, 5th, or the 6th. It's not even a stretch to call him the 6th option for that offense right now. The way that a couple red flags here. They have not used him the last couple of games.
Yeah, one reception last week.
Yep, and you're talking like 11 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
Juju Schuster, his targets, his yards, they have all gone up the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Hollywood Brown's getting more into it. Obviously, Xavier Worthy's the main receiver now.
Oh, who did you just talk about? The emergence of who? One of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game?
Yeah.
This is all taken away from D-Hop.
Yeah, it is.
And remember last year he had that MCL injury?
Yeah.
And they just didn't talk about it. And then, a team just let him go for nothing. And you were like, how could
traded
the
for
Chiefs?
pennies.
Yeah, how could the Chiefs just get him for nothing? I think there's still something up with that. I think the cat's out of the bag. I don't have no faith in him. It feels like a little bit of a coin flip type of a pick here.
Yeah.
But if I like the under.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't putting any money on DeAndre on overs, I'll tell you that, just because you can't trust him, even on the 1.5 receptions. If you want to go that route, I don't know if he's going to get 2 receptions.
No,
I mean, if you're going to do anything with DeAndre, they might look his way, in the red zone. If he's
still like the third option in the red zone.
Exactly. So no, I'm on your side with the under with him.
Yeah.
Especially like you said, Hollywood Brown coming back from injury.
Yes.
Travis ramping up. The other tight ends ramping up.
Watch the highlights from the last game against the Bills.
Yeah.
Where was he? Everybody was getting fed. Everybody was getting balls thrown their way.
Yeah. Samaje Perine had more targets.
See? That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm definitely on your side on that. The one Chiefs thing that a lot of people were going to be split on here, Andy, and this is a big risk reward, right here is who you going with? You going with Kareem Hunt, his rushing yards at 45.5, and Isaiah Pacheco at 22.5. Like we talked about in the last segment, Isaiah Pacheco kind of had a fumble, a little bit of a miscue early in the game, and it seemed like Andy Reid just went away from him.
Yeah, it was kind of like an RPO. It appeared to be.
Yeah, and it got traded to Mahomes, or not traded, but Mahomes took it and said, "Yeah, it's my fumble" or whatever. But it was Isaiah's fault. Now, with his rushing yards so low at 22.5, this is the leading rusher of the Super Bowl the last 2 years, Andy.
Yeah.
I believe 22.5 yards is a lock for Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
I believe they're going to give him early shots, and he is going to have that dog in him. He is going to run hard, and he might break one for 22 yards.
No, I really like that. He's the more explosive back. Things just didn't break his way. And also Kareem Hunt, give him a lot of credit. Last week he popped off for a 12-yard run, then he had another 11-yard run early.
Yeah.
Then you
big touchdown run.
Yep. Then you throw the fumble or the miscue on Pacheco, and obviously Andy Reid did. I'll tell you, this kind of lines up with what I'm looking at, and it's Kareem Hunt, rush attempts set at 11.5 attempts.
Yeah.
I like under.
Yeah.
I think Pacheco is going to go off. I think they're going to utilize him.
Yeah.
He is their back, and they nursed him back to – this is why
he's –
Exactly. This is why he took off the entire season.
Yeah.
They're like, no, put you on the shelf. We're good. Now's the time.
Yeah.
It's Pacheco time.
I really do. I love that, Andy, because I do believe that they're going to start Pacheco.
Yeah.
And I think the Eagles are kind of keen on Hunt as well to be the premier back. So I think it's going to flip for Isaiah. 22.5 yards seems like just a layup for him because he can just do it in one carry. So I really like that. Do you want to switch to the Eagles?
Let's talk some Eagles. Let's go.
The first one that you got to get out of the way is Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown.
Right.
They are going to get close, and they are going to push him across the line. He had 3 touchdowns in 18 yards. That is absolutely disgusting. That's like Mike Tolbert or, Mike Allstott yards, Jerome Bettis, just vulture guys.
Kind of is a fullback playing
He's a
quarterback
vulture.
sometimes.
He's a vulture of Saquon. It's absolutely disgusting. But no, you got to have that. If you're going to make a parlay for the Super Bowl, that has to be sprung in there somewhere, or at least in some tickets if you're making multiple. Jalen Hurts, over a half rushing or receiving touchdown. You have to have that in there somewhere.
All right, well, this might have a little bit more flair to it. A.J. Brown, over under 5 receptions. I'm going over. I'm going over in a big way here. Just his targets the last 2 or 3 games should be proof enough. I know he had a stinker a couple earlier in the playoffs where he was reading his book and everyone was
2 games.
I was kind of piling on him. But just look at his season stats.
Yeah,
he is right there. I think he's well within the top 5 as far as targets per game.
Yeah.
And now is the time. They need him because I do believe somehow, some way, Spagnuolo, the DC for Kansas City, is going to scheme up a way to maybe not take away Saquon Barkley, but at least contain him to where they're going to have to go to a second option.
No 60-yard runs, no 80-yard runs.
There's going to be 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 12s, 3rd and 8s, where that's A.J. Brown time.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love that, Andy, because I believe A.J. Brown's a big key factor for the Eagles if they have any chance of winning this game. I think they need a big game from Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. That being said, I love the under on Saquon's rushing yards.
Ooh.
They are all the way up at 115.5, Andy.
Yeah.
I love Saquon Barkley. He's probably the best player in football this year.
Yeah.
But that is such a high line.
It is.
He could have one of the best games in Super Bowl history and be under this total.
Right.
He could have 100, like last week. He had like 112 yards and 2 touchdowns, whatever.
Still didn't get it.
I think this is way too loaded up, and it might go higher, so maybe you want to wait.
Yeah.
But
out of the last 29 Super Bowls, only 5 running backs have run for over 100 yards.
Yeah.
Like you said, we love everything about Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
But this is where a defensive coordinator who's one of the best to do it and has been for a long time.
Yeah.
He's had a pretty good run in Kansas City.
Pretty good run.
He gets 2 weeks to scheme up a team that he's beat before.
Yeah.
So I just think it all adds up to that under 115 and a half.
115.5 just rushing yards.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that, I'll go back to A.J. Brown. 73% of his games this year, he got targeted far more than 5 times.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen.
He's
going to get it. He's going to get it.
It's insane.
So
yeah. So I love that pick, Andy. That's one of my favorite on the board. But my biggest one for the Eagles that I really love is Jake Elliott, the kicker.
Okay.
Over 1.5 field goals. I believe that, like you said, they're going to stall out on drives on the Kansas City side of the field, and Jake Elliott is going to have a heyday kicking field goals. I believe this is one of the locks on the board right now, and he gets this over.
Now, you heard the horn. We're up against it, but do you have a parlay here?
Yeah, I do, Andy.
Let's hear it.
And
Let's
it's
do it.
three of the picks that I just said, 3 of the ones that I think are most likely to happen in the Super Bowl, and it is Travis Kelce, over 64.5 yards receiving. Do the higher on that. Jake Elliott, over 1.5 field goals, and then I gotta throw Jalen Hurts in there. He's just gonna score.
Yep.
1 touchdown. I have it in for $25 right now to win $150.
Love it.
That's a huge return on 3 things that are most likely going to happen in the Super Bowl.
That's on the Underdog Fantasy app.
Underdog.
Well, you heard the horn. That means we're up against it, but we got to take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. World class in every glass. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL.